There is good chance you will find and you will encounter a Suzuki Ertiga when you're going on a road trip or to a hill station. और एक अच्छा रीज़न भी है उसके पीछे. The things the Suzuki Ertiga is fuel economical. The fuel economy, beyond the fuel economy, it's comfortable. It can carry 7 people. Although उनमें से जो 2 पीछे की सीट में थर्ड रो में बैठेंगे वो डेफिनेटली बच्चे होंगे. लेकिन there is good reason to suggest that why someone would buy a Suzuki Ertiga. But I don't think that's the most common reason why someone will buy a Suzuki Ertiga. I feel that's also because the Toyota Innova is too expensive. And that's why people choose this over a lot of other 7-seaters. And I'll explain you exactly why that is in the few moments. But before I talk about why people choose an Ertiga over an Innova, let me show you some aspects of the exterior which you may or may not like. Starting off with the headlights, it has got these chrome surrounds. Now I don't know whether these were offered factory or they have been retrofitted, but it surely gives a bit of a look जहाँ पे ऐसा लगता है कि इसने white eyeliner लगाया है. And the same thing is true about the rear tail lights as well. Although an interesting thing is the rear tail light from straight back is so small, but when you go to the side it becomes almost too big, and come to think of it, it looks like some sort of an infinity stone. This particular Ertiga has this very unique front grille which makes it look as if ये कोई movie car है और जहाँ पे इसको debadge किया गया है to stop publicity, but it sure gives a unique look to the front, and might I say it, a probably better look to the front, especially जब इस पे कुछ प्लास्टिक सराउंड्स नहीं थे, एज इट्स अ 2014 मॉडल एंड नॉट अ 2015 मॉडल जहाँ पे थोड़े सराउंड्स वगैरह ऐड किए गए. This Ertiga also comes with a carrier which conveniently is placed right beside the antenna, but it does not interfere with the radio reception, thankfully. लेकिन जो उन दोनों का जो टकराव है वो थोड़े मेरे OCD को काफ़ी अच्छी तरीक़े से ट्रिगर करता है. Just look at the difference there. It's tiny. Also, this particular Ertiga has this mirror which is slightly broken, as you can see. Since this is a Ertiga VDI, it is powered by a 1.2 liter diesel engine which produces 89 horsepower and 200 Newton meters of torque. And very interesting, oil I guess, I don't remember what this is. Yeah, it's engine oil. This can was in the car for 250 kilometers and the person forgot it in this little engine bay, so I'll carefully keep it in the interior so that it doesn't make any rattling noises for the moment. On the inside is where the real magic happens, and we start off by understanding the steering wheel. Now this Ertiga has a horn which is really hard to press. See, I'm pressing here and it just does not happen. The only way to press it is from here and on the down also no, and probably here. That's it. On the inside आप एक चीज़ immediately notice करोगे और वो है ये गाड़ी का देवघर. और ये एक काफ़ी अच्छा रीज़न है because this tells you a lot about this car. It's used as a temple's main car to get people in and around. And this thing actually has a very cool feature, that is it's got focus lights, और वो mounted है यहाँ just behind the rear view mirror. If you can catch it, but in the B-roll I'll definitely show you how it looks. And it's really bright, and although it does obstruct the front view when you're driving, a minor inconvenience. Now this car, in its infinite wisdom of the owner, has a very cool feature called rear parking sensors, and those can be operated if you manually depress the clutch and put this car in reverse, and you can clearly see it is doing something. But this thing does not have factory airbags. which is interesting in a crash. Also, the gauges don't work. The the oil temperature gauge and the fuel gauge do work, thankfully, but the engine tachometer and speedometer does not work. And I'll prove it as I start the engine. See, nothing. And if you try and adjust the trip gauge, that also does not work. In fact, इसका जो माइलेज इंडिकेटर है वो भी 84,650 किलोमीटर पे स्टक है. बिफोर वी गॉट ऑन दिस ट्रिप it was stuck on 84,650 kilometers, and to this day it's stuck on 84,650 kilometers, even if we have probably done 250 kilometers, so about, I guess, 87,000 kilometers. Now on the inside, this thing has an aftermarket Pioneer infotainment system which has something called Bluetooth audio. And just before we show you how that works, where was it? It was right here. So if you go into the phone and go into the Bluetooth, don't want to get copyright. Now what it has is an ability to connect your phone to the Bluetooth system of the car. लेकिन एक समय पे आप सिर्फ 3 particular phones को रख सकते हो, which is a little bit of a concern to say the least. This car also comes with front mounted cup holders, which you can just press this and they pop out, which are good for a bottle which is as small as this. I believe this is 100 ml, लेकिन not good enough for a bottle which is probably it is good enough, but it fits barely, and it can cannot fall, but it will obstruct view, and it's a little flimsy to keep it, to say the least. But it can stay. I was wrong. I take my statement back. It can be good for a bottle as big as this. Actually, a level of hack which I would like to tell you is the air vent. If it has cool air coming off it, it's a ventilated cup holder, which is an interesting hack to say the least. There are Sony speakers and tweeters, as you can see, which have been mounted into this car, which does make the interior have a good sound. In the back, I would like to show you the headrest, which can actually tilt forward and backward, which is interesting. That is true for the passenger side seat as well. You do get a good size armrest, which is going to make your trip just that bit more comfortable for the duration of it. There are rear sunshades which are good, although I do struggle to put them above, which I guess you do it here, I guess. Fuck. Damn. कहाँ डालते हैं इसको? I guess it's here. Okay, it's here, and let's see. Okay, that's how it works, and it is actually really good. Just roll down the window. Damn. Yeah, nice. Most unique features of this Ertiga is the rear AC vents, which are well, these are not AC because these just take the front हवा, यहाँ की हवा लेते हैं और यहाँ पे blow करते हैं, which does make your journey really comfortable, and that makes it one of the better chauffeur driven cars, although there is a chance it can kill you. Now, as a rear seat occupant, you also get a very interesting VCR display, and you can watch movies on this from the rear seat as per your whims and fancies. The rear seats can also fold completely to accommodate for a package good enough for a Ganpati Murti, and these seats can also what we say, recline and decline, but they can also move forward and backward in a 60-40 split, which is an interesting thing to say the least. Also, the rear non-existent seats which will have non-existent passengers, उनके लिए आपको cup holders भी मिलते हैं पीछे, like this, and it's there as well. I hope the camera catches it. It probably doesn't, but here's an attempt. Also, an interesting aspect of the Ertiga is that it's not really that practical with all three seats folded up. Now, this is as much as the boot space आपको मिलेगी, and that is as big as the headrests you will have, and it's just as big as that. Here is comparison. And to put forward this rear third row of seat, to put this forward you just need to push this seat forward. उससे आप काफ़ी easily हो जाएगा. But then the boot space काफ़ी easily बढ़ जाती है. Also, there is only this little way, this little handle to open the boot. ना तो आपको चाबी पे कोई सिंबल मिलेगा जिससे आप बूट को खोल सकते हो, और ना ही आपको इंटीरियर में कोई ऐसा स्विच मिलेगा जिससे आप बूट को ओपन कर सकते हो. सो या दैट मेक्स इट अ लिटिल लेस प्रैक्टिकल टू से द लीस्ट. ऑल्सो एट द बैक आपको इस गाड़ी का रियर जैक मिल जाता है, और वो काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से इंटीग्रेट गया है मस्त से. लेट्स सी वेदर आई कैन पुट दिस back here. Yeah, this works well. Yeah, one less way to actually rattle. And if we open, there's the rear warning triangle. Discovered a feature which is very cool. There is this little cap which you just need to pop, which can actually very easily depress the rear spare tire, and I think it's a full size spare tire if I'm not wrong, because these days आपको ये काफ़ी easily नहीं मिलने वाला, and that makes this car a lot more practical now. Yay! One good feature. Although please मुझे बताना last time आपने टायर कब बदला था. You talk about fuel economy या फिर आसान भाषा में कितना देती है. The term is synonymous with Suzuki, and this Ertiga gives real life mileage of somewhere around 15 or 16 kilometers per liter. Although मैं verify नहीं कर सकता because this गाड़ी का जो गेज क्लस्टर है वो चलता नहीं है. Ouch. Guys, I just tried driving and filming myself while doing it, but it just could not happen because of this shitty phone mount. Buyer's advice: do not buy a Portronics phone mount, especially if you are getting it for around 500 to 600 rupees. So yeah, after this buyer's rant over, I must tell you क्या है Ertiga की ड्राइविंग क्वालिटीज़ जब आप इस गाड़ी को ओवर 250 किलोमीटर चलाते हो. There are a few things which are good about this car. One of them being the ride quality. और इसकी राइड क्वालिटी सचमुच अच्छी है. स्पेशली अगर आप मुंबई गोवा हाईवे पे चलाओगे तो आपको सचमुच पता चलेगा ओवर द बैड रोड्स ये गाड़ी कितने ईजिली अपने बम्प्स को काफ़ी ईजिली सोक कर लेती है, और आपको पता चलेगा कि क्यों इसको लॉन्ग जर्नीज़ के लिए लोग इतना यूज़ करते हैं. ऑल्सो to add to that, I must say the steering wheel and handling is pretty communicative, although it doesn't really aspire you to have that handling. मतलब it does its thing, it is acceptable. The turns are well quite normal, like overall पूरी तरीके से लॉक करने को अगर आपको एक साइड पे जाना है, so suppose you want to turn to left, और आपको पूरी तरीके से अगर आपको रोटेट करना है तो इतना मुश्किल नहीं होगा. It's quite easy. The steering wheel is electrically assisted, so it doesn't really aspire, or it's not a hydraulic setup which really needs good muscles. The clutch and shifter action is pretty good, although मुझे particularly थोड़ा मुश्किल लगता है because I am someone who is used to more precise shifting, and I'll show you exactly why. So I press the clutch and I shift into first, second, third. So थर्ड का डिफरेंस आपको काफ़ी इजीली पता चल जाता है, बट फ्रॉम फिफ्थ it just feels that it's in third, and that's a massive problem for me, because there were times when I got confused between both shifting. It's probably more down to my way of driving, and the fact that I'm a noob and the fact that I'm a fool also helps that situation, helps to explain that situation. But I feel the shifting could have been more precise. Although अगर आपने कभी वैगनआर चलाई है, आपको पता चलेगा this precision of shifting, this as good of a what we say, जितना अच्छा इस गाड़ी का जो मतलब एक एक गियर में जाना है उतना प्रिसाइज उस गाड़ी का नहीं है. सो आई कैनॉट रियली ब्लेम सुजुकी फॉर इट, बिकॉज ये इनके खून में भरा हुआ है. Beyond that, I would like to suggest you the fact about this car's driving experience, and that is इस गाड़ी का थर्ड गियर का ऑपरेटिंग विंडो, जो कि काफ़ी छोटा है. अगर आप सेकेंड गियर में हो और अगर आप थर्ड गियर में पूरा रेफ करके भी जाते हो तो आपको पता चलेगा कि अगर आप चढ़ान पे हो तो आपको उतना कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं मिलेगा आफ्टर अ वाइल, बिकॉज दिस कार्स थर्ड गियर इज जस्ट अ लिटिल अनरिस्पॉन्सिव. एंड इवन आफ्टर ट्राइंग इट्स full capabilities out, revving the tits out of the second gear, it still did not help the situation, and I felt the third gear is just not that good. लेकिन इसका फोर्थ गियर उतना ही अच्छा है, बिकॉज इसके फोर्थ गियर में आप एज लो एज 60-50 किलोमीटर हो सकते हो और आपको कोई इश्यूज नहीं आएंगे. जबकि अगर आप एक फोर्ड लेट्स से फोर्ड फ्यूजन में हो, आपको डेफिनेटली उसमें फोर्थ गियर में इन 60 किलोमीटर्स पर आवर थोड़ा सा इंजन नॉकिंग महसूस हो. So that can help you to get a good fuel economy very easily. But I feel this car's third gear should have been a little bit better. Although these seats, I do have some complaining to do on the driver's seat, which I felt after about 3 hours of driving, the driver's seat got a little bit uncomfortable. मुझे पर्सनली द पैसेंजर सीट थोड़ी ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल लगी. सो इट मे बी जस्ट पर्टेनिंग टू दिस पर्टिकुलर ड्राइवर सीट एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर अर्टिगा, विच इज़ नॉट 100% perfect. But I did feel some discomfort after say about 3 hours of driving, and on Bombay Goa highway, Bombay Pune expressway, going from the insides of Mumbai to the insides of Konkan. I did find these seats to be a little uncomfortable after say 2 or 3 hours of continuous driving and close to like 150 or 160 kilometers of covering. So yeah, इस गाड़ी में अभी बहुत मच्छर आ चुके हैं, so मुझे काफ़ी डांट पड़ने वाली है. That's the story of the Suzuki Ertiga. Overall, it's a very boring car to buy, and if you want to go outside, I'll probably suggest getting a used Innova, because that may have a more usable third seat. But one of the main reasons why I think people choose the Ertiga over the Innova is because the Innova is just too expensive, and the 2017 model is the most desirable one. उनकी आज भी used value around 19 to 21 lakhs है. The new Innova High Cross, which is also the Suzuki Invicto, that thing costs close to 32 lakhs on the top end and 25 lakhs on the low end, which I think is a little too expensive. But India is growing into a value-based economy, so maybe that makes sense for Suzuki and Toyota. Although we haven't seen a lot of them, but there is a good reason why you find a lot of Uber Blacks to be Toyota Innovas. उनका जो name है वो काफ़ी अच्छा है, but I really do wonder that it could be priced lower and could compete better with a people mover like a Suzuki Ertiga, especially because I do think that it's a little more uninspiring and it can get better competition, especially for the size. And I do understand the sub 4 meter category exists because the Indian government taxes the cars on the basis of its length, but let's see. I do expect some more stiff competition its way. There are good competitors like the Renault Triber, but they also have bland engines. I really would like if there was a 7-seater which had a good engine and was for under 10 lakhs. Frankly, there are 5-seaters which are very talky, and I can give you some examples in the coming days. So let me know what you thought about this review. Let me know if I was a little bit more dumb than normal. Subscribe the channel, like it, and I'll find you next time in some other video. Tab tak ke liye bye bye. Forgot to mention, this thing has interior ambient lighting which has been aftermarket added, and a really bright dome light which literally illuminates the whole interior like a tube light. So this is my bad attempt to show you how this car is like to drive, and I cannot show you it from the front windscreen because my mount is broken, so you need to deal with it. So let's see. This thing doesn't really work, does it? So this is my vain attempt at showing you what it's like to drive a Toyota Ertiga, a Suzuki Ertiga, no pun intended. So let's see whether the mount falls. It's not my mistake. I hope the audio is good. The audio is good. So मुझे लगता है कि इस गाड़ी का जो ओवरऑल व्हाट वी से द ड्राइविंग एक्सपीरियंस है वो काफ़ी बोरिंग